Hey y'all, welcome to Fitting and Homemaking. My name is Sarah, and today we are looking at the month of September to see how I did for my low spend year. If you'd like an overview of the series, please check out the playlist posted in the description below. If you go to the January video, there's a big explanation about lots of things, but essentially I chose to do a low spend year to pay off my car loan. And because of changing interest rates in April, I kind of somewhat abandoned that course of action, and I went ahead and I took money from my high yield savings account and paid off the car in April, just because mathematically it made more sense to do that. So since April, I have actually been paying myself back and transferring money into savings each month to build that back up so that it gets back up to the level of a 6-month emergency savings account. So 6 months worth of my typical expenses, right? So that's the point. That's what we're doing. That's the goal. So let's take a look at the month of September to see how I did. For September, our total household expenses were $5,180.53. That includes all of our bills, mortgage, escrow, internet, car insurance, pet insurance, groceries, all the utilities, phone line, HOA, Amazon Prime subscription, and then of course expenses for the kids. Still need a few diapers here and there, healthcare, health insurance, and daycare. Last month daycare was around $2,400, so it was one of the cheaper months for daycare, so that was nice. So that is the big household picture this month. My part of that was $2,590.27. And this finally felt like a month that was a little bit more reasonable with expenses. I feel like it's been creeping up each month, and then this month it finally is kind of in the $2,500 to $2,600 range, which feels a lot more comfortable for me. Onto my personal expenses. This month I spent $54.93 in gas. $48.59 went to necessary expenses, so mainly like over-the-counter medicines, toiletries, those sorts of things. I spent $10 in my gifts and donations category, and my fun spending totaled $103.38. So a good portion of that was the fall decor that I bought, which I have absolutely zero regrets about. If you haven't watched that video, I'll try to remember to link that down below as well. But I see those decorations every single day and it gives me so much joy. It gives my kids so much joy. I could go on and on about how happy I am with those decorations. So zero regrets, even though it's a low spend year and that wasn't technically within my rules of, accepted expenditures. I have zero regrets. Another part of that was kind of a mom's night out, that it was just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. The stars aligned, it was kismet, but there was one night where I really like college football. I follow my alma mater and I root for them, but it's been like over 5 years since I've been able to watch one of their football games that they've been playing in. And one night the game started right around my kid's bedtime, and it happened to be a night where I was not the one who was responsible for getting up if the kids needed something in the middle of the night. So I chatted with my husband. I was like, hey, like this is an opportunity here. I'd really like to go out and at least watch part of, one of my games because I haven't seen one in so long. So he agreed that, yes, please go watch your game. Like, that sounds like that's going to be good for you. Go on, because sometimes there are things that happen at night where it's easier to handle if you have two people. But yes, I went with his blessing. I went to a sports pub and, got an appetizer, got a cider, and was able to watch part of my game for the first time in many years. So that was my mom's night out. But man, those are getting even just like one dish at a restaurant, even an appetizer dish and a drink was like mid to upper $20. And this was like not a fancy place, right? It's a sports pub. But anyway, that was well worth the money to be able to just kind of experience that again, because that was something that I've kind of given up since having small children. Yes, it's temporary, but it's nice to finally start to be able to doing those things again. So those two side quests, so the fall decor and the mom's day out, that was a decent portion of this of my fun money. So I absolutely, like, good choices on my part. Well done, past Sarah. Even though it was money, it's like it was so worth it for mental health purposes. And you know, the rest of that, it was just like my food drawer at work was getting low and I wanted chips or something. You know, it's like the little BS spending like that. So all of my personal expenses came together to be $216.90. However, big caveat, this month was tire month. So if you've watched some of my previous videos, you know that I've had a few larger expenses that I knew were coming up kind of through the summer and towards the end of the year, pre-holiday stuff. And new tires for my car was one of them. So it was finally tire month. I paid $852.12 for my tire. That was buying them on Amazon. I have a lovely brother-in-law who is also my mechanic, and he sent me the exact thing I needed to buy. So I was able to buy the tires on Amazon and have them delivered to my house. My husband loaded them in the trunk of my car, and actually just this morning I drove to my brother-in-law's workplace and he put the tires on the car, which was amazing. So it was tire month. I wanted to have that separate from the rest of my normal personal expenses because it is such a large expense, and I wanted to be able to compare the other kind of more normal personal expenses with previous months. So my kind of normal expenses plus the tires ended up being $1,069.02. So that was my total personal expenses. The grand total of the household expenses and my personal expenses were $3,659.29. Now on to income. My take-home pay this month included my longevity pay bonus, which was fantastic, which is also why I chose this month to pay for those tires since it was such a large expense. So I received my typical $3,761.20. That's normally what I get month to month. And then the post-tax part of my longevity pay was $928.30. So the longevity pay is just a percentage of my annual salary, and this is what it happened to be post-tax that actually hit my account. So together that totaled $4,689.50 of income for this month. So for the results, my income less expenses this month was $1,030.21. So I went ahead and I transferred that money into my savings account to build that back up after paying off the car. And I am really pleased with that. The original goal, knowing that I was getting my longevity pay this month, was to be able to put the entirety of that bonus into savings. And I was able to do that and like 100 and some change extra into some savings. So I'm very pleased with that, especially with such a huge expense of the tires being included in this month. So that means if I hadn't gotten my longevity pay, I still would have been okay by about $100, which is amazing. If I'm doing my math right. Hopefully I don't go and look back at this and it's like, that's not how math works, Sarah. I think that's how it works though. So very happy with that. Those couple of splurges that I talked about earlier with my personal spending, other than that, the personal spending was very, very low. And those were two exceptions that I was happily willing to make, and, no regrets. So if you're doing a low spend year or week or month or whatever space of time, please share your progress down below in the comments. Let's celebrate your wins. Let's vent about the challenges you're having. I'd love to see what everyone is doing We only have a few more months to go in my low spend year. We're officially in the last quarter of the year, which seems insane to me. To be perfectly honest, I do not think I'm going to hit that big savings goal. Originally, it was to pay off the car. And then after doing that, it morphed to building my emergency savings back up to 6 months worth of expenses. I don't think I'm going to be able to hit that, but I'm still going to try. And at the end of the year, after I do my last review for December, so I guess it'll technically be next year since that's how that works. I'm going to assess where I am with my goal. Did I hit my goal? Did I not hit my goal? And maybe look at some other challenges I can try, financial challenges, to either help me reach that goal or, to save in different ways, and just try something a little bit different. I've been very kind of loosey-goosey, if you will, with this. I've had an estimated budget at the beginning of the month, which I haven't necessarily been sharing because I feel like that's pretty boring. I feel like the results are the more interesting part. But I could go ahead and do something like setting a very specific amount to set aside at the beginning of the month and then adjusting the other expenses and really tracking my expenses throughout the month. So I don't know. If you have any financial challenge suggestions for me to look into, go ahead and pop those down in the comments below. Again, if you like this kind of content, please subscribe, please like, so that you will be able to see the next video and finish out the series. We're getting so close, guys. But I hope you will continue on this journey with me, and I will see you the next time. Bye.